Today on She's Iconic, we are going to have a phenomenal conversation about high-achieving women and the sneaky secret ways that we neglect our bodies, the vessel that holds all of our truth, our abundance, all of our expression.
What I call cellular survival mode, because many of us high achievers, we don't actually think we're in survival mode. Like on paper, like we're successful, we're getting shit done.
We can be living, but not truly living. You're my first ever guest on She's Iconic live in person, and this is so fucking beautiful. Like, I just have to hold your hand for a minute because, like, the energy is insane. You guys, you might just do this the entire time. Or just like
we had to talk for a whole hour before this. We were like, why didn't we record it?
No. Today on She's Iconic, we are going to have a phenomenal conversation about high-achieving women and the sneaky secret ways that we neglect our bodies. And that is the vessel that holds all of our truth, all of our abundance, all of our expression. And the internal part of us is what translates outwardly in our life, in our business, as mothers, as leaders, as wives. And when that is not taken care of, when that is neglected, when the high achiever in us is like, oh, I can handle it all. I can do it all. Quietly inside, there are things happening, which then causes us to not be able to be our full caliber and level of ourselves. So I want to have an incredible conversation today with Sarah regarding our inner health as women. And I can't wait to dive into this because, I mean, we are both, like, we said it before, we're spiritual, badass business owners. We're like, yes. And we are so in tune with ourselves. And I really feel like that is the missing piece that a lot of high achievers don't really look at, because it's always the external. What is the strategy? What is the next thing? How can I achieve this thing? So I want to really talk about today, like inwardly, like how does that affect things outwardly in our life, in our business, and how can we be more in tune with ourselves? So first of all, I'd love for you to introduce yourself, Sarah. Tell them all about you, who you are, what you do, what you're here on this earth to do, and we're going to have this beautiful conversation.
Well, I am so excited to be here, Renee, and you iconic women. You speak to my soul, your work. And when I met Renee, we met at a event here in Charleston. It's called Speakpreneur. And she was talking, she was asking a question, and I heard her say a few things. I heard her say iconic women, nervous system, and somatics, and all this like juicy stuff, and just her voice, her energy. I'm like, I need to find her. So I found her on Instagram, and here we are. And you're just such a beautiful soul. And we work with such similar women. And so my story, so I am the founder of Hormone Goddess, and it's really a movement designed to help high functioning, ambitious women move out of what I call cellular survival mode into their life force. So what gives them their authentic life source and really reconnects them to their soul's work. Because the truth is, while I do work on the body, especially the biology of the nervous system and trauma and cellular health, women don't just come to me for health. They come to me because deep down inside, whether they put their finger on it or not, they know that they're in this stage of reinvention in their life. And they realize eventually that reinvention is metabolically expensive. And we really need the body to be on board so that we can reinvent ourselves into this new identity, this new way of being, and to really do what God hired us for at the end of the day. And so I've designed a process called the Roots Method that I walk women through that is really based on going all the way from cells to soul, very body-based, biology-based, to restore their minerals and nutrients and to open up flow in their body and in their life so that they can reconnect to their nervous system, reconnect to themselves. And this is a story, my story is more of a pain to purpose. So I know that sometimes can sound cheesy, honestly, but I have turned my own into what I love to do today. And we were talking earlier, like, about how, like, we get to do this. We get to go through, like similar to what you said, claim it, own it, master it. Like we get to go through it. We get to experience it, embody it, and then teach it. And so that's really like what my whole purpose is to really go through these recalibrations in my life, reinvention phases, and to come out the other side and share. And that's really, where I am today now. But my story in the very beginning wasn't so bright, as I did not have nearly as much energy as I do now. And it all started as I was your classic high achiever. I graduated high school early. Like, is that even possible? Like, sometimes people are like, "What? How did you even do that?" My school had some things going on where the teachers were on strike, so I had the option to do that. And then I graduated college early, and I was really taught this level of success came from hard work. And I was really taught that by my dad. And so I pushed, I did things, I hustled. I was like your A+ overachiever, and it caught up with me at one point, but it got me a lot of places, and I'm really grateful for what that did get me, the doors it opened, the opportunities that came through. But it got to this point in my early 20s, and I was starting my marketing career. I was so excited. I was that girl that I'm a 90s baby, and in the early 2000s, I was obsessed with the hills and Laguna Beach. I don't know. And I was like, I was a party planner and a marketing specialist. Like, these girls are like, that was like my dream.
Yeah.
And I got into it, and it was so soul sucking. I realized that I was reinforcing the masculine constantly every day. Because and of course as business owners, we have to do marketing to a certain degree, but it felt so masculinely driven. It felt like I really had to go out there and do things constantly. I couldn't sit back and be in my feminine. So I was really living in this wounded masculine, and it caught up with me in my early 20s. And I was starting to feel really depressed, anxious. I felt just disconnected and off. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I decided at that time, which was a bold move, a 22-year-old, to go off of birth control. I was on it for about 7 years, and I was thinking, maybe this has something to do with it. So I go off of it, and I lost my period for almost 4 years. And just a little bit of history about birth control real quick. Birth control, when you're on it, you don't actually have a period. And so it's a fake bleed, and it does actually flatline all of your hormones. Not saying birth control is necessarily bad, but I was on it for about 7 years, so I never really knew as in my teenage years and in my early 20s what it felt like to have that feminine flow in my body. And so I went off of it, and I got my period back 4 years later, and it came back with a vengeance. It was painful. It was heavy. It landed me in the ER a few times. And I was like, what did you do? Girl, and I didn't know what to do. So I went to the doctor, right? And trying to figure out my life. And I came back with a bunch of diagnoses, like autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, PCOS, IBS. And the advice I got was eat less and exercise more, which at the time I did have an eating disorder. And at the time I was in the gym for a few hours a day. So that was not the best advice I needed to hear. Talk about overachieving. Yeah. So I was overachieving in every area of my life, and it just caught up with me. And it wasn't until my dad got diagnosed, he was 58 years old with Alzheimer's, and he was my hero and a person that I put on a pedestal because he worked so hard. Yeah. And he was the person that he got far in his career. And so I embodied a lot of his characteristics. And to see that was like that stop in the tracks. That was like the final straw. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to step back from my marketing career. I had no idea what I was doing. I bought a house. I bought a car the same month. I stepped back from my marketing career. I had no idea how I was going to make money. But I just knew it was time to change. Yes. And that's when it all started.
Wow. This is so incredible. These are the kind of conversations I just thrive on having here on this podcast, because it is about the evolution, the identity evolution, the full body evolution. I love how you were talking about you help women come back to their life source. That is something I really, really, really want to dive into, because when you are lacking that, you are lacking a part of your soul. You are not truly living if you are not living like with this vitality and like from that truest life force. And there are all these things that can hinder it, right? Like the conditioning that you grew up with like, this is what I have to do. I have to produce. I have to be this certain way because you identified with, I am a high achiever. I am ambitious. And I feel like this is a thing that really is counterintuitive for us women because we are wired and we work differently than men, right? So in a masculine society, in a masculine world, we are brought up confused with the fact of like, we have to put in this effort, we have to do it in this way in order to have the success, when it couldn't be any more like not that way, right? So I want to talk about that because that's truly when you anchor into that life source, right? It's like you understand the way that you are internally wired as a woman and like what you went through with all those different changes in your body. It was like your body telling you like, what have you been doing to me all your life? You know, not even just with the birth control, but with the stories that you would tell yourself and all of that. So, I mean, how liberating was it for you to make that decision to be like, this is not it anymore? I mean, it is bold. It is daring. That is the scariest thing for a high achieving woman is to be radically honest with herself and actually go through with the thing that she needs to actually do. But we do it, right? And it is about holding through the void. It is about holding through the hard time. Like, how am I winning right now? I don't know, but this is just gonna happen. So let's dive into that. Like, how do we truly get to the center of that life force through identity, through nervous system work, through taking care of yourself internally? I mean, you are just you're a wealth of knowledge when it comes to that. So let's really dive into the way that you were able to go through this evolution.
Oh, yeah. And what you were just saying about the void, because that can feel so scary. It's so unknown. It's so uncertain. And there was so much fear there because I never saw anyone go through that. And I was just being told, like, there was voices in the back of my head, family, like, you're going to lose your health, you know, you lose your pension, your salary, like, all that kind of stuff. So, like, I had these different thoughts just kind of fighting each other.
And by the way, what we were talking about before the podcast, we were talking about how it feels like you're just so alone in going through this because there are so very few, what we feel like, because we are part of the conscious collective, I like to call, of women on this earth, like put on this earth with big missions, big movements, the fire in our heart and soul to like the ambition, all these things, right? But it's like you could feel so alone when it's like the other people who are most matrix, right? Like, are like, well, we need to stay safe and stay here. So I just wanted to add that bit in because that is something I know our listener right now can totally resonate with, is like feeling that aloneness, feeling like, is this just me? Like, am I actually being crazy? So I just wanted to like, just pause there for a minute to just like really understand, like, you're not alone. It's just that we are diamond. We're the diamonds, right? Like we're the ones that are just like planted on this earth to do these big things. And it's like, because there's not so many of us, it doesn't mean that it is the wrong way or the wrong decision. So go on.
Oh, you speak to my soul, girl. And that's really what it was. It was like one of the first ruptures of many that were about to come out of the matrix.
Yeah.
That was like one of my biggest wake-up calls out of the matrix. It was like, you can keep doing this. You can stay sick. You can stay spinning your wheels. You can stay in the soul-sucking job to just make ends meet. But where was your life force at that point? And it was pretty much non-existent. Yeah. So, and that's like the thing with the life force is like, I realized that my life force was completely depleted. And now hindsight's 2020, like that was really what caused all these symptoms and how my body was truly speaking to me. And you're right. Like it can feel like an island when you feel that urge of like this life no longer fits. And I want to go here, but I don't know what here is yet.
Yes. Yeah. I call it being certain in the uncertainty. Yes. Like, and having that like anchor within. It's like, I don't fucking know, but this is fun. This is life. Like life surprised me with where we're going here. And this is one of the things that I truly have been, okay, I have to show you something. So can you see this tattoo in the back of my neck here?
Yes.
Okay. So pretty. I'll put it on the camera. So this is Serenity in Chinese, because, you know, that was cool, like, back in the day, like, the Chinese writing. And really mature said that thing, right? So I did that. Actually, as my leader does, so I kind of care. I'm like, what does this say? She's like, Serenity. I'm like, all right, good. It actually says that. So I feel like, I don't even know why I got that tattoo at that time. I always loved, like, the Serenity prayer and resonated with it. And I didn't realize until recently, like, oh my God, I'm living out my life purpose. Like, I'm living out the Serenity prayer right now, because that's truly what it is. It is realizing what you have control of and what you don't. That's a Serenity prayer, right? It's like, God, grant me the serenity to, you know, really acknowledge what is mine to carry, to hold, and what is in my control and what is not, and to release the rest. And that is the surrender you must have to go through this identity evolution. So I just had to add that little element in there, because that, I feel like, especially as a high achieving woman who wants the control, because control is safety, bodies and nervous system, right? We want that control, because control has worked for how long during our life, right? Like, we've been very successful in our lives, and it's worked to a certain degree until our bodies are like, oh, no, this is not the way. And then you realize what it truly means to have that inner peace and certainty, and that ability to surrender to life surprising you, working with the divine, right? And then, okay, what is in my control, and how can I be? So let's talk about that part, because that is what it took, right, to, like, get you through that, is identifying what do I have control of and what don't I, and how can I allow myself to feel safe during this time.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, is, like, I had to let go of the grips of control. And it was what I call my surrender experiment, which ended up lasting a lot more than a few months, which I was like, oh, so you have to that up? I have. Yes, you too. Life changing. Oh, yes. Which is so good. And it was this reminder of, like, this gripping, this forcing, this pushing was not getting me anywhere anymore. And I had to allow myself to enter in this liminal space, this incubation period. And it's like this time for the brain to, like, reorganize, because I was doing a lot of studying on, like, what the brain does and what the body does during this time, and how when we are making an identity shift, like, what's going on internally inside of our nervous system and our cells. And that's really the work that I love to do. And so at that time, like, I really just started switching the gears from undernourishing myself to deeply nourishing myself, and to getting myself the right support, eating plenty of protein, getting the right vitamins and minerals, testing my minerals, understanding, like, where was my body feeling this state of depletion and what I call cellular survival mode. Because many of us high achievers, we don't actually think we're in survival mode. Like, on paper, like, we're successful, we're getting shit done. But, like, when I look at these HTMAs, these mineral tests, 10 out of 10 high achievers I see are in this cellular survival mode. And I found myself in that state. And so that's this protective response. It's such an intelligent response by the nervous system, by the body, to keep you safe. Because it's like, I got no more energy, girl, to keep going down that path. And then my body talked to me in those symptoms, like constipation and brain fog and fatigue and painful periods and all that fun stuff that I dealt with. But it was up to me to listen. And by listening, I entered that space, that surrender. And that was, like, my first taste of, like, really feeling my feminine embodiment.
And you said it right there at the end. It's like, you actually started listening. Like, you started listening, not to just your thoughts, but, like, your body. And that is what it takes. And it's like, as a high achiever, we get so disconnected from our bodies because we get analytical. We're in our masculine, right? We're in our brains. We're in our, okay, if I do A and B, we'll see, like, and to be able to connect with our bodies, especially as women, and listen, oh my God, what is this telling me? This tension in my neck. What is this telling me? This pain in my hip. What is this telling me? This tightness in my throat and my jaw. And to realize, or the symptoms you were having, right? And I like the brain fog, like, okay, let's dive into that thing, because that's been me. I mean, I actually am a mom of 3, so that can have a lot to do with the brain fog and being up at night. But it is like that awareness around what have you actually been neglecting. And when you do take that time for, like you said, the thoughts to process and to really go inward and be like, okay, how is my body wanting to talk to me right now? That is the deeper level you must go to as a high achieving woman. in order to go through that next identity evolution towards the right path. And what is the right path? The right path is being so connected to yourself where it's like, this actually feels so freeing and alive, and it doesn't feel like forceful. It doesn't feel like, oh my God, if I'm not doing this thing this way, that the shoe is going to drop. It just feels like, wow, like you said, I'm so connected to my life force that there's limitless potential and opportunity now that's going to happen because you are locked and loaded in that place. And it's like, I shared with you before that I lost my brother to suicide. And I had a conversation with him before he passed. And he had OCD that was just not treated, and anxiety. And I just thought, wow, like he truly could not live on this earth. Like it was him dying every day, basically, because he was so just living in that state of fear and anxiety, and like his brain telling him to do these certain things. And I just thought about like, maybe, okay, we're not suicidal, but it made me think about my life. Losing him made me think about my life and all the ways that I truly was not living. Like, we can be living, but not truly living. And when you are living out of alignment, that's not truly living. When you are living in a state of lack, of scarcity, of fear, like that is not truly living. That is dying on earth. And I was like, I am going to change the world and really empower iconic women to live to their truest self, right? But it's like you said, it's like on this cellular level. It is really plugging into that life force. So that's why I'm just like, I have to have this conversation with you, because like I know you get that. And it's like, this is us truly living life. And it's like, I know he's here with me right now. I know he's like, he's just a part of like my message and my movement and like the reason why I do this work, you know? And it's like when there's another human being who just like gets that, it's like we are here to actually live and is doing the same thing for women and like bringing them back to themselves. That's fucking powerful. Yeah.
I feel that on so many different layers. And the fact that your brother's passing like really woke that up, and he was like in the places that I'm not living. Like, where am I not living? And there was a time in my life where I felt like I was a dead woman walking. And very similar, it was one of the next ruptures was my dad's passing. And, you know, I saw him go through the whole process of Alzheimer's, and it's kind of like this anticipatory grief where it's like, you know, it's coming, but you don't at the same time, and you're in denial. And it happened in early 2023, and I was in the middle of a launch, because that's just how my life works. Yes. I'm in the middle of all the things. In the middle of a launch, and I'm navigating that. It was one of the biggest months to date at that time in my business. And I had a decision to continue the launch the way I was doing, which was still very masculine in 2023, or I could pull back. I could get off of social media and I could just be. And I could grieve what I needed to grieve, be with my family, and just take this time to really just reconnect with myself and what's important. And it woke up in me also the places I wasn't living. And it was this massive moment of like, instead of what can you keep doing, it's like, how well can you now live?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so powerful. Would you be open to sharing, where were you not living?
Yeah. At the time, I analytically, so what we talk about here, I was all here.
Yeah.
And you know what, at the time too, like I was still doing the work I'm doing today, just at a much deeper degree now today. But I was still like operating, although I want to say I wasn't, I was still operating in sneaky ways inside my business that were still draining me energetically. I was giving a lot of my energy to the social media algorithms, to just like what we're supposed to do as business owners. It was more of that like raw marketing, like boss babe, hustle culture, retire my husband energy I was in. And I was in the badass entrepreneur era, and I loved it. And I also didn't love it because I still felt empty. I still felt there was parts of me that felt like that dead woman walking. And I was like, this moment where I was really annoyed, actually, because when I left my marketing career, I made a commitment to myself that I was going to follow my soul's calling and I was going to enjoy it and all these things. And here I am in 2023, and I still felt like parts of me were dead inside and that were still outward focused, right? I was still very much so focused on the external validation, the achievement, the pursuits.
Yes.
And you know what the data shows? This is really interesting because this is like a sciencey part of me. My background's in functional medicine, and I'm also a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, all those fancy terms that I really just don't associate with anymore. But I love science. And the data shows that in our 20s, even up to our early 30s, we're very dopamine motivated. So it's like that external, the pursuit, the achievement, the doing.
Checking those boxes off, baby.
Getting those gold stars and checking those boxes off. And that was like, you know, the thing that gave us life, that excited us. And there's a time and place for that. But once we hit our 30s, especially our mid-30s, it starts to change to a more meaning-based motivation. And it's where it's based on the hormones oxytocin, serotonin. And those are like our feel-good, our happy, our love, our bliss hormones. And that's where we start shifting to authenticity. That's where we start shifting to purpose and meaning. And so for me, it's like I was going through a lot of acts at that time of like, this is how my functional medicine business should be, and how, you know, it's successful in that world, and how we market, and how we talk to people, and how we do sales calls, and all those things. And it just wasn't me. It wasn't me. And I had to take that time. I took a few months. I went off of social media, and I was with myself. I grieved a lot. I cried a lot. I released so much somatically. That's when I started doing somatics and started working with my nervous system a lot more. And that's when I made a commitment to myself. I'm doing this business differently. I'm leading in a new way. I'm doing the business in a new way, and I'm going to live in a new way. And that 2023 was like a pivotal year for me.
So pivotal. I know we were talking before the podcast, we're like, yeah, you're like, yeah, I thought it'd just be like 2-3 months of me like going through this. Hello, 3 years. And I was like, we're like going back in time. We're like, wait, me too. Wait, me too. Like this, we've gone through very similar evolution, and it's taken this time because Rome was not built in a day, and neither are our nervous systems or like great legacy things that we're doing here, right? Like we are here to change like the generation, like honestly, like this. And I feel like it's not just us. Like I said, it is the conscious collective leaders where this is all happening. There are so many conversations I've witnessed, and I'm a projector, so I'm very observant. I have been observing so many high-achieving women that I've looked up to, and they are all sharing this message now, like the identity evolution. This is the new me. This is the next level. This is what I'm now shedding. And it is so liberating, and it is so comforting of like, okay, we're all in this. We're all going through this together, but it is not like a quick thing. And like you said, like, it's like, okay, in our 20s and our 30s, it's like the quick hit, the dopamine. And it's like, okay, fast results, fast this. And now it's like, no, let's get to depth. Let's get to this feeling of like, this has so much meaning. And I feel like that is the era that we're in now. It's not about all these external things, right? It's about in here, which hello, if in here is whole, it's like all the things externally are going to change. So it's like, there's abundance within and without and all this. And we are just built differently, like as women. So it's like you just said, this is a new way. This is a new paradigm of leadership for women. Hello, iconic women. Like, and I thought to myself during the evolution, I was like, I lost my brother. I cared deeply about mental health and wellness. Like, should I incorporate men into this? And I was like, fuck no. I will still have it in my heart and soul and still make this about women because we are truly designed and wired differently. And that is my truth. So when I was like, you know, our mind is like, oh, should I this? Because you can do whatever the fuck we want, right? Like we are,
oh, girl, yeah.
we can do whatever we want. Like, I mean, this just like to do it. And I just really sat with myself and I know this is about the women. So let's talk about that paradigm shift. Like, what does this mean for you? Like, what are your truths now that you're anchored into? What does the new way look like for you?
Oh my goodness. We've been sold, right? This lie that we have to hustle more, that we have to work more, that we have to achieve more to be successful, right? Like, you know, we've been sold that lie, and it's nothing but a biological mismatch for women. And those systems, those business ways of marketing and selling and all the things, right? Like even the way of living, the way of doing life, the way of parenting, right? Like has been designed by men for men. And
Yeah.
it is such a biological mismatch. And what we need to understand as women, so my truth as a woman is understanding I'm a cyclical being. And that cyclical beingness is my freaking edge in life, in health, in business, and really leveraging that.
Yeah.
And knowing like there's those ebbs and flows, just like the seasons and our menstrual cycle as women if you're still cycling, and the moon cycles. Like we are not separate from that. We are a part of that. We were made from that same level of consciousness. And so that is the truth that I'm carrying moving forward. And that's really how I live my life and work in my business. So I'm very cyclical, like when I do podcasts and when I'm recording, like it's usually during my ovulation phase. I'm taking a nice good break during my menstrual phase, but it's like really leveraging that and understanding like, ladies, we are freaking powerful. And once you start leaning into that feminine energy and the cyclical beingness of you, like that is where you're going to really start to shine. So that's like one of the biggest like growth edges that I've embodied and that I just want women to understand more about.
Absolutely. And like that internal health, you know, the internal things that happen to your body, like every single month, right? Like, what is it in a man's body? Like he goes through those hormone changes in 24 hours. And for women, it's the month cycle, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, even that is just bizarre and wild to think about. And it's like, that's how different we are. It's like our cycles are a month long where a man's is 24 fucking hours. Like that alone, just wrap your head around that for a minute. And I love how you said it's like you're working with the way that you're uniquely made and not feeling guilty or bad about it, because I feel like that is a conditioning and a belief that us as women feel like we have to carry the weight, we have to carry the things, I'll do all the things as mothers, as wives, as entrepreneurs, like daily. It's a daily grind, it's the daily things that we do, the boxes that we check off, but it doesn't work that way. And I'm so glad you said that too. It's like the flow and same thing here, like I take the week off when I have my period. Like we're not doing anything luteal phase, like forget I'm checked out, like we're doing like very minimal. But during ovulation, during that peak, when you feel like just so alive, it's like that's what we want to channel our energy from, right? Because like when we channel it from that place, that is our life force, right? And like, so what if we want to rest during our period and during luteal phase? It's like that's what we're actually designed and meant to do. And for us to acknowledge that and to be able to really train our nervous systems and rewire our nervous systems to be like, there's safety in rest. That is us recalibrating. That is us allowing things to like integrate. That is the most powerful thing that you could do. And that is where you feel the most alive, right? So I recently this year got really into like the extra layer of that, which is, okay, there's the internal, right? And listening to our bodies internally, but also like the way that we were born, like our human design, right? So you were telling me earlier, you're a generator. Go baby, you're powerful. Like we have different energies, and I'm a projector where we're the only design that does not create our own energy. We siphon energy. So having you here right now, I'm just like, oh girl, you're giving me my life force because it works in that way, right? And so it's really understanding the way that we are wired, the way that we work. You generator, your sacral, yes and no, like all those things. So it's taking it to that extra level, right? So I'm sure that is something that you have really worked with as well, right? Is like having the awareness. Like this is the depth and the awareness that we need as women. Like this is a new paradigm of leadership, right? Is like having that awareness internally and how we're designed and our energy levels and why our energy is this way. And when it's not, to acknowledge like, why am I having brain fog? Why am I feeling bloated? Why do I feel like so those signs and things that you got, it's like that was really, it was leaking your energy. And I'm all about like amplifying your energy, your genius, your the way that you are uniquely designed. And that allows you to like be able to feel that more, right? So if you could tell our audience, like what is the number one thing that you have done for yourself to really anchor into that life force energy? What is like the one thing, the one change that you made where you're just like, wow, like this was like absolutely life changing for me?
Oh, My mind immediately goes to minerals. And
take notes.
This has become my life's work. And if you told me when I was like 5 years old, I wanted to be a teacher. If you told me I was going to be talking about women's like periods and minerals and mental health, like all this stuff, I would have looked at you and been like, what?
But like you are teaching.
I am teaching in a way. Absolutely. And for me, the most pivotal thing was understanding my own unique cellular energy and what I specifically needed. And so minerals are like a hot term right now. They're very trending in the wellness space. And I don't mean just like electrolytes, which are like sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium. Those are amazing. But I mean like really understanding your unique cellular biology. And so this led me down a path of the past 6 years becoming a master in reading people's minerals. So almost like an astrologist reads people's like birth and natal charts, I can read people's minerals. But I do that through lab testing. I do that through something called a HTMA, hair tissue mineral analysis. That one's a tongue twister to say. But what I can understand and see on there is like, what minerals do you need to amplify your life force? Because we're all different, just like human design, right? You're a projector, I'm a generator. I love projectors. My husband's a projector. They can see you like no others. They are the best mentors and coaches. Like if I didn't have my husband, like being like, I see this in you, I would lose it. Because, you know, like it's nice to have that grounding force in your life. But for me, it was really like honing in on like those specific minerals that I needed and having my own custom support with that. So I created a custom formula based on the specifics that my body needed. Because at the time, the first time I ever tested myself, I had something called this calcium shell. And the calcium shell is something I see in a lot of high achievers. It's where your body is actually blocking life force and nutrients. So the calcium shell is almost like this. We're going to get a little sciencey for a second.
Yes, let's go. New teacher. Yes, my time. Let's go in.
I promise to that for you. But the calcium shell is like this egg-like structure that's created around the cell, and it's this protective response. And when we talk about nervous system, your body at the end of the day is so intelligent, and just like you said, Renee, it's just trying to keep you safe. And we want to build that safety in the body. And that's what the calcium shell does. So it's a really high level of calcium that blocks our cells from getting hormones. We need that estrogen, ladies. That's our queen bee hormone. We need that for a healthy cycle, for a healthy transition, even into menopause. We need testosterone for motivation. We need progesterone, our calming hormone. We want thyroid hormone in there, but all of that gets blocked. The nutrients get blocked, and then our emotions. So emotions come through our body in a form of peptides. And so we actually, when we have a calcium shell, we feel dull, we feel disconnected, we feel brain foggy. Everything feels foggy. And we feel just like our life force has been kind of drawn out of us a little bit. Like that like spark has been diminished and dim. Now, the cool thing about the calcium shell is protecting you. And a lot of women I see going through that are typically in a phase of reinvention. Wow. They're in this phase of their life, that identity shift. Yeah. The spiritual awakening, getting out of the matrix and opening up. So it's not a bad thing. Yeah. But knowing that, I can then see like, okay, what does that woman need? How can we dissolve that shell? How can we regulate her nervous system from this cellular aspect with minerals? Because truly, like nervous system regulation, how I look at it from the sense of biology. And this, you know, when we work with the cells, then somatics work better. Then the food that we're eating works better. Then the identity work that we're doing works quicker. Like everything just kind of amplifies and speeds up. So that's really what changed my life is I helped move my body, my biology out of that calcium shell so I could create this really deep sense of safety. And coming out of that, and the coolest thing I hear from women, they're like, they start feeling again. Yeah. Life gets more vibrant. Everything just like turned on. It's like the light switch turned on in their brain. They're clear. They know exactly where they want to go. Like that clarity is there. The creativity's turned up.
That level of presence.
Yes. The groundedness, the level of presence. And a lot of them were living here. And now it's like they're living in the body. So that changed my life. And that's something that I will probably die on that hill talking about is minerals. I have a connection to nervous system, and especially with high achieving women, because we're just burning through those minerals, baby. Yeah. Like when we're working hard and we're stressed, and even good stress, you stress, where we're burning through and we're doing amazing things, we need to dial in those minerals to make sure that our body has that level of support to transition and to awaken into those deeper layers. So that's really what moved me. That was like the big thing.
That is so powerful. And it is, you're such a wealth of knowledge. Like, I'm so glad you went there, the scientific part. Like, I love that so much, but it's like it's like this all cohesively works together. And when you can hit all of those elements, right, and really understand the biology and your own body, like, that is, again, it's like giving you that life force of like you 100% like actually living your life. Because we all know, like, when we feel like shit, like that translates into our work, that translates into us being, you know, a great mother or a great wife or a great partner or a great leader. It's like, it will translate into that. So to be able to feel that wholeness on the inside, wow, that is so powerful. And I need to hire you because, wow, I mean, I'm thinking about the time, I don't know what this test was. Maybe it'll ring a bell for you when I tell you about it. I was at the gynecologist for my annual, and they did this like stress test thing, and they're like, you're good. Like, your blood pressure is good, your things are good, but it's like, they said something like, you manage your stress really well. It's almost like I was good at like suppressing my stress.
Yeah.
Or like covering it up.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how they could tell this in the test. I forgot what test it was, but it was like, yeah, I am. And I was like proud of it. But I was like, now when I've been doing this somatic work, the nervous system work, I'm like, I had all this stored trauma, like emotions and trauma and all this stuff that I wasn't releasing. I was like, I can carry it. And I mean, I'm almost 5. Hello. Like, that is, you know, me being the leader and carrying everyone's emotions and all these things. And I was like, that was not a good thing to be proud of at the time. It was actually like, you were suppressing all the shit that you're holding and trying to keep it together. So that was like the biggest release for me doing this kind of work. But to be able to go, like you said, a layer deeper of like, what are the nutrients that my body actually needs? I love what you're doing for women, because this is that extra thing that like our bodies need this. And it is often the thing that we just neglect, or the thing that we just like bypass. Because we're like, well, I'm doing all the mindset work. I'm doing all these external things. I'm doing all the strategies. I'm doing what I have to do, right? But it's like, well, did you take a look at your body and how it's functioning? Like, because that is crucial.
That is so crucial. And it brings me back to what you were saying about holding the things back and like being proud of it at some point. Like, I was so there too. Like, I was very like, I could stuff it all. I had an A++ in like carrying things.
Yeah.
And there is a grief that comes with that eventually when you move through that nobody really talks about.
Yes.
Right? Where it's like all that stored stuff, like we do have to feel that at some point. Right? And the data shows, this is so interesting when it comes to mitochondria or cellular health, that we actually, as humans, we have the energy of a lightning bolt stored inside of our body. Like, we are that powerful.
What?
And knowing that, sometimes we might not feel that, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, that's the biggest thing, is like, we have the energy, we just need to activate it. Mm-hmm. And the things that can block that are holding back the emotions, right? Not processing them, you know, not working on the nervous system, having liver stagnation or lack of flow in our digestive system, or mineral imbalances or deficiencies, parasites, gut imbalances, like all of that, like really that can block it. So it's like a matter of like, we got that energy. It's never been lost. We just got to remember it and activate it.
Yeah.
And by moving through that and supporting the nervous system, creating the safety in the body, like you talk about, and like we do in different ways, that activates it and brings us back. And there's this period of processing that I see a lot of women go through, is like the letting go, the shedding, the old identities, the grief that we had, that version of us that carried all the things, that did the stuff, that, you know, really worked her ass off and got really successful too. And no longer maybe identifying with that version and like being able to shift that.
Yeah.
And having the energy to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I know whoever's listening right now is like, how the fuck can I work with you? Because I want to improve myself at the cellular level. I want to know what minerals I need to give myself. So we're going to drop that in in the description below how you can connect with Sarah, hire her, because hello, I am.
It's all about that voltage, baby. We need more high voltage leaders.
Yes.
We really do.
We do. And in the right kind of energy, like power. Yes. Yes. So amazing. Okay, so I want to ask you, what would it look like for a woman who has been running on empty for years to actually work with her life force? Like, what would that look like for her?
For her to work with her life force, it changes the game. And the shifts that I see in women that I've seen in myself is like a woman who is fully tapped into her instincts, her intuition, that compass. Yeah. And to tap into that, we have to be tapped into the body. Yes. And so like, that's the first thing I see is like the instincts and the intuition just start lighting up.
That I have to say 1000%, because when I was going through my identity evolution, I realized how much I was outsourcing my power at one point. And when I started doing this work, I started anchoring into my truth more, into my intuition. And I felt like at a point I had almost lost that. And I was looking like asking friends in the industry for advice, asking my OBM for advice, asking my VA for advice, asking my coaches for advice. And I'm just like, but I know. But I was that like, I was outside of my body. So I wasn't connected to that. So I have to say that is one of the most freeing things about doing this work and being able to anchor into that is like, you are fully tapped in to that intuition again and making those aligned choices as a leader. That is like one of the most important things for you to anchor into. It's like, people are following you. They're listening to you. They're influenced by you. If you're not anchored into your full body truth and you don't have that full conviction and you're, maybe like a little shaky in your voice or like you said the thing and you're like, I don't know if I really believe that thing. And it's like, that's not it. That's not you being in your leadership. Like to be able to be fully anchored into that, that is a true iconic woman leader. So,
I get chills when you talk about that because it's true. It's like our energy, our authenticity is our contribution to the world. But in order to get there, we gotta be tapped in to those instincts, into that intuition. And you're right. There's those moments like when we're outside of our body, we are then outsourcing. And then we're putting people on pedestals, right? Yes. People in our industry or people in our lives. And then we're like comparing ourselves constantly. When honestly, the truth and everything we would ever need is like internal. And it was so interesting. Like when I made that shift, it was kind of scary at first because I was living in my brain. I was like A+ at being here and to start to listen, like my body was talking to me in different ways, like through different symptoms and through like, for example, like before my period in that late luteal phase, like getting some of the PMS. Okay. That was a sign I needed to dial it back. I needed to start to honor my rest and take the guilt out, take the shame out around that, and just really be with my body. And that is like one of the biggest things, like with the building of an iconic woman and like the identity of that for me is like that instincts and intuition. And then that takes into her authenticity, like who she really is, like what God hired her for, like her contribution to the world. And it just starts to make sense. It just starts to line up. And she goes through those identity recalibrations, right? Like that surrender experiment, those dark nights of the soul. Yes. And she's open to doing that. But also to me, the iconic woman is like the woman who is also tapped into her cyclical being and knowing that's her edge and understanding like those ebbs and flows are what makes her freaking powerful and that you would never want to compare yourself to a man ever again. Yeah. And knowing that and living that because that is the stuff that like you can get something done in like 30 minutes that might have taken you like 5 hours before when you're tapped into that cyclical energy and the energy and flow of nature. And the other thing that just like really comes to mind for me, an iconic woman is also a thought leader. But with listening to her body and tuning into it and taking care of her biology and doing somatic work and nervous system, she is able to think more critically. Like she is able to get out of the matrix and she's able to see the reality. Yes. And we need more of that in the world, truly. Like in today's day and age, in 2026, we need people thinking critically, but also tapping that into the intuition and melting that together.
I love this. words. And immediately these words just like came into me. Like this came to me last week, like just in a download. I'm like, the verbiage that I want to use to like articulate that is clean precision. Like clean precision. And once you see it, like you can unsee it. Once you feel it, you can unfeel it. Once you're there, it's like, wow, how much of my life, of my thoughts, of my actions was I wasting before?
Yeah.
And how clean and aligned and precise they are now. Like, that's an iconic leader, baby.
Yes.
Like,
Oh my God. Yes. Coherence, baby. And that takes me to like, right there, coherence.
Yeah.
Being fully coherent with your authentic self, being coherent with your energy source. And just, I mean, that is it.
That's it.
That is it. I love that clean precision.
Yeah.
All the way.
We're going to leave on that note. This was like, so happy. Like, holy cow. Oh my God. First iconic woman conversation, and it was beautiful. It was wonderful, and I can't wait to have you back again. Like, this was so introspective, so juicy. It was wonderful. So thank you, Sarah, for just pouring your heart, soul, energy, gifts, knowledge, everything into this episode. I have goosies again. Like,
this is amazing, Renee, and amazing connecting with you, iconic women. Renee, what you're doing in the world gives me goosebumps and chills in all the best ways, and your energy is like such a gift. So thank you for this experience. So much more to come, and I love connecting.
Yes. Mwah. All right. Stay tuned till next time.